name's Ian. Welcome back to my channel, where we at the moment going through old role-playing games and how they all fit together. And as part of that series, I'm just doing a few videos on character generation and so on. And I thought, because we've done the character generation for Classic Traveller, I thought I'd just go over the system generation for Classic Traveller as well. And across all of Traveller's versions, the star system and planetary generation systems don't change a huge amount. They add details and they add all sorts of other bits and pieces in there according to the background that the game is portraying, or the era of imperial history that they're going through. But by and large, the manner in which the star systems, or the basic stats for the star systems themselves, are determined is pretty much the same, regardless of what version of Traveller you pick up. Unless it's GURPS Traveller, in which case it's completely different. But core versions of Traveller we're talking about. So the three forms I've got here. We have got a subsector map, we have a subsector summary sheet, and we have a star system data sheet. So we'll just go through, it may be split up into two videos, depends how long the first bit goes, but we'll deal with that. We'll pick a system that we generate for our subsector once we've generated our subsector, and then fill it out using the rules from book 6. So that segues into the books we're using. So book 3 is the general rules. Book 6, there's some advanced stuff about star system generation in there, like these books, like I touched on in the character generation, where we went to High Guard. So High Guard expands the character generation, excuse the ratty covers to these, but they're quite old and used, but High Guard covers the expands out the character generation for naval characters, but it also expands out the starship generation process. And similarly, Scouts expands on the Scout character generation, and it also expands on the star system generation rules. So we may touch on to other editions as well as we go. Like I said, the systems are pretty similar across editions, so we might make some comparisons. But for now, we can just set this thing aside, and we'll get on with just the basic stuff from book 3. So, first thing I want to touch on, this is just the way I do it, by the way, so you know, your mileage may vary and you may do things a little bit differently, but it's, in the end of the day, we're all doing the same thing. So I start with a subsector map and just mark off where the systems are actually going to be. Now, in standard classic generation, the roll is a 6-sided dice roll, and on a 4, 5, or 6, then there's a system there. That's called standard, and it's up to referees to modify things over. However, like I said, we're going to may touch into the rule books. But this is the 3rd edition of Traveller, which is Traveller the New Era. Again, a bit battered, but you know, this is probably my 2nd or 3rd version of this. So in these, like I said, some of them add and subtract and everything else, but in this book it's interesting, and the fact that this little paragraph here about 4, 5, 6, and you can modify it accordingly under the world occurrence thing, that correlates to the system presence rules in Traveller in the New Era. And all it is basically saying, standard here, 4, 5, or 6 is a world presence. That is our standard system density, which is a 4+ on 1d6. Exactly the same. This kind of adds in a corresponding thing. So instead of sort of saying, oh well, you can make up really what you want, this is the default, but you can make up really what you want, it's kind of give you some expected values. So a rift where the expected is a 4% of the expected population, which at subsector level means that you're likely to end up with a subsector map that doesn't have anything on it at all. Revs are empty areas of space with the odd planet here and there. So 12 or more on a 2d6. Sparse, 16% expected population density, 6 or more on a 6-sided dice, basically roll a 6. Scattered, 5 or more on a 6-sided dice. Standard, 4 or more on a 6-sided dice. And dense, 3 or more on a 6-sided dice. So even though the classic rules say 4, 5 or 6, that's your standard, modifiers as you wish, with die modifiers or whatever, it's useful. This table is useful for just seeing what the sort of level of expected systems you're going through, or the level of population of density of star systems you're looking at. So on a standard map, you've got 80 hexes. It's 10 down here, 8 across, so 80 hexes in total. So if you apply these percentages here on our standard system, which is 50%, we should end up with roughly, if things go as sort of planned, we should end up with 40 systems. So we'll see how that works out, but that's the general sort of idea behind it. So if you're looking at something that you want things to be few and far between, then look at either the scattered level, 5 or 6, or even sparse when you're just rolling a 6 to see it. And if you want things to be more closely packed with jump 1 routes all over the place and so on, like a heavily populated and coarse area of space, then go for dense, in which case you're looking at 3 or higher on a 6-sided dice. So anyway, so what I do with this, I'll set the new era stuff away. We're just going for 4, 5 or 6. I just wanted to point that out. So what I'm going to do is just use 4, 5 or 6 on the die roll, and I'm just going to put a dot on the hex if it comes up. So we'll just go down. Probably forward wind all of this, but okay. So we've now got a map with dots all over it. So we know where all of our worlds are going to be. So for each one of our worlds that we've generated, we need to generate its starport now. And we can do that using this table here. The starport roll is just 2, 3, 4 is A, 5, 6 B, 7, 8, 9, 7, 8 C, D, 9, 10, 11 E, 12 X. That generally describes the quality of the starport. A's are the best. X means that there's no starport there. In other additions to the rules, for example, in Travel in the New Era, it gives you different tables for the starport, or different chances for different types of starport to appear according to the area of space. Like if it's well-travelled core area of space, there's a higher chance that better starports will appear. But in the base rules for the classic game, you've just got this one table here. So what I'm going to do is to go down through each of our dots here and fill in this starport. Then we can start transferring information onto our world data sheets. So we'll just keep rolling. That's it. So that's all our starports doing, and we can also mark on a map and directly generate the map the presence of things like naval bases and starport and scout bases. So a little triangle for a scout, little star for a naval base, and gas giants as well. We can do with a little dot. So we can do gas giants first, and it's a 2d6 roll, and anything 9 or less will give us a gas giant. Okay, well, the gas giant's done. Now we can go for the presence of a navy base. Navy bases we don't roll if it's a C, D or X starport. Otherwise it's 8 or higher. So Roll for that B. So there's a Navy base there, just a little star. None at C. At the A, yeah. None at E. That A, yep. Quite a big naval presence here. C, 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 A. That's it. That's the naval bases. Now, scouts, the reason why I left the scouts to last is because they have die modifiers. So we don't roll if it's an E or an X. Otherwise, it's -1 if it's C, -2 if it's B, -3 if it's A, no modifier if it's D. So, B is -2, and we're looking for 7 or higher. So B is -2. -10 -2 is 8, so there's a scout there. C is -1, nothing there. That's it. That's our scout bases. Next, we really do need to come on to here now, so we can fill some details in, which I won't bore you with, and we'll come back in a second. I'm just going to fill the locations and the starport values into our form here. Okay, so I've filled in our system locations and our starports onto the UPP. Just to say, UPP or UWP. I prefer UWP, as it is in later editions of Traveller, because UPP is also used for personality profile. It's just a little bit messy in the terminology. Right, so the next digit along is world size, and that is just a straight 2d6 -2 roll. So, see you in a bit. Right, size done. Okay, so atmosphere is 2d6 -7 plus size. So the caveat being, if it's 0, then atmosphere must be 0. I didn't actually get many size 0s. Just fill that in straight away, because those are basically asteroid belts. It's just the one. Right. So everything else is 2d6 -7 plus size. Minimum value is 0. So if it goes into the negatives, it's just a 0. Alright, next is Hydrosphere. Hydrosphere, again, is Hydrosphere graphics is 2D -7 plus size. If size is 0, graphics is 0, and if it's 0, 1, if atmosphere is 0, 1 or A or higher, then we'll do a DM of -4. So first off, let's find our 0 size. So that's hydrographics has got to be 0 as well. And then what I'm going to do is just go down and roll for the ones with the -4 DM first, get them out of the way, and then go back and do the normal ones. So just so I don't forget. So we're looking for 0, 1s or A or higher, like that one. So it's Next one on, population. Population, simple 2D minus 2. Population. So at this point, some of you may be going, why are we generating an entire subject? Why not just show us how to generate one world? Now, reason being is I want this to be an example of how quickly, or depends on your definition of quickly, but how quickly you can generate quite a lot of data for play. And a lot of the time, you know, a map that just says there's a star system here and so on is good enough. So if the characters want to go, if it's an unexplored area of space or whatever, and they want to go to visit a particular world, they know there's a world there, but they don't know the nature of it. You can always generate that world on the fly as they go through there, and create the stats for it as they're scouting the place out and scanning it. Right, so we're now on government. So it's 2D minus 7 plus population, and so is law level. So I'll bear you all of that, but these next two digits are, I'm going to do together, they're both 2D minus 7 plus population. See you in a bit. Before all that, I may have said that that law was there was 2d6 minus 7 plus population, but that's not true. So government, which is this digit here, which is 2d6 minus 7 plus population, and then law is 2d6 minus 7 plus government. Anyway, that's all of that generated, just to be clear. The next step is to determine technology level. I'm going to show you one of these and then rapidly go through the rest. So the base roll for technology is 1d6, but there are a whole bunch of die modifiers to take into account according to the world. Now, our world here is Starport B, size 3, atmosphere 2, Hydrosphere 6, population 6, government 3, and law level 7. So we can have a look down here and see what our tech level modifications are. So B gives us +4 for Starport. A size of 3 gives us +1. An atmosphere of 2 gives us another +1. A hydrosphere, hydrographics of 6 gives us nothing. A population of 6 gives us nothing. And a government of 3 gives us nothing, right? So in total, 4, 5, 6. So the tech level for this particular world is equal to 1d plus 6. And that's it. So we can roll 1 6-sided dice. We get a 6. Add the 6. That's 12, which is C. Now it just goes to the last digit there, and then that's world as complete UPP or UWP, as you sort of wish. So I'm going to leave you for a sec while I rattle through the rest of them. Okay, so we're nearly there. We've got all our basic stats. We've got the outline of our map. There's a bunch of naming of the worlds and a subsector and so on to do. The last bit we're going to do in this video is to come up with these remarks. Now the remarks are derived. They are in the world book, in all this block of text here. But just flicking over to the Scouts book, it outlines them a lot easier. So there's these kind of things. The basic idea is to look at the stats for each world, I'm going to do a few and see what they come up with. And there's no rolling here, it's just determining whether they fall into certain categories. So for example, we could work out, so atmosphere of between 4 and 9, hydrosphere between 4 and 8. So if we look at something that's got an atmosphere between 4 and 9, hydrographics of 4 to 8, so there's atmosphere of 9, yes. Hydrographics of 4 to 8, yes. And population of 5 to 7, yes. So 4 to 9 atmosphere, hydrographics between 4 and 8, and population between 5 and 7. So that all adds up to this world being agricultural. So I'll just put an AG in there. And you just do that kind of thing all the way down. So you can either do it by category and just hunt out those worlds that match. And the easiest way to do that is to just go down one column. So for example, atmosphere needs to be 4 to 9. So no, that might be sorry, look at the size column, what the heck. So that might be, so hydrographics 4 to 8, yes it is. Population, no. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Yes, yes, no. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Yes, no. Next one. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so that one's agriculture as well. So yes, yes, no. Yes, no, yes, yes, yes. So there we go. That one's another AG. Yes, yes, no, no, yes, no, no, yes, 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 no, yes, no, yes, no, no, yes, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and so on. You just sort of keep going down until you match them all. Yes, yes, no, yes, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, 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 another AG one there, and yes, yes, no. That's it. So that's all of our AG ones, agricultural worlds. And then you move on to this non-agricultural. So agricultural worlds have got a primary focus on agriculture. It doesn't mean that worlds that don't have the AG classification don't have any agriculture there at all. However, the next one down is non-agricultural, and there's criteria for that. So worlds that are non-agricultural, they will end up being there's no agriculture there at all, and it's things like, you know, the atmosphere is rubbish. There's not really much water on there, or there's high population, which probably leans towards more an industrial world. So I'm just going to run down there. I am going to split this up into two videos. We'll do a second video that takes one of our star systems. I'll have a look and see which one of these is most interesting, and we'll use the rules from the Scouts book to expand that out into its star and the rest of the worlds. These stats describe the main world of the system. The Scouts rules expand that out into creating the rest of the worlds and the moons and everything else that belong to the star system as a whole. Right, so I'm going to fill all these in, but we'll wrap this video up. I've touched on all of the general rules. When you're filling in the map, that first one, for example, it's got a hydrosphere of 6. So what we'll do is we'll colour that in. Confusingly, some use the black dot for not anyway, and we'll find there's 1 of 0, so 107 is 0, that one there, no hydro, so it's a dry world, and we'll fill it in with an open thing, and we'll also do that for the rest of the map as well, so we've filled in our worlds. You can actually see things developing quite well on the map as well, because we've got a main that runs all the way in a loop right through, little cluster there, right through the whole sector. So there's these worlds down here that are not connected to it, and that world there, but virtually everything else is on this little loop. So from a point of view of a group of travellers that have only got a basic merchant ship or something like that with a jump drive of 1 or jump capability of 1, then this is not a bad sector to go and play around with. They'll need jump 2 to get to this world, and jump 2 to get to this little cluster of 4 here, but every other world within the subsector you can reach with just a jump drive of 1, including that little X planet up there. So there you have it. That's subsector generation with Classic Traveller, and I'll finish up this, and then in another video we'll pick a star system and expand it out.